David Tomlinson is working hard to make sure there's a future for these historic cars. As chairman of the Rotorua Vintage and Veteran Car Club, it's his role to ensure these valuable motors are properly housed and cared for.
We've got to find somewhere to move our cars onto so another generation looks after them and keeps them going. And I'd hate to think in 20 years' time there's going to be 100,000, 10,000 old cars in New Zealand with nowhere to go. Hopefully there's still a future for old cars and younger people will keep an interest in them, learn how to maintain them, because there'll be a point in time where people will only be able to maintain them themselves.
Tomlinson is worried a younger workforce won't have the experience required to work on these cars.
People that are going to Polytech to learn how to fix cars are being taught how to fix modern cars. So we need to rely on a lot of experienced older people working in the shops and the workshops. Really, we need more and more people to be trained to fix old cars.
Academic leader of mechanics at Toi Ohomai, Joe Nathan, is certain the future is in safe hands.
Traditional mechanics will still be here. Like a lot of people say, well, what will mechanics do in 5 years? Because they'll all be electric. It's only the engine that's electric. The rest of it is still a car. There's probably certain things that will fade out altogether. We don't teach about side valve engines or anything like that anymore, but yeah, it's still the basics you start with.
A retro ride can be rewarding, but not without challenges. Rotorua's sulphurous air can cause metals to rust.
The central city and the southern central city has a lot of sulphur. So even if you own a home around there, your wiring and other things can corrode. So cars that are based around that area of town, people that live in those areas, their cars will have like rusty bumpers and rusty aerials and stuff. They'll try and keep them clean, but it's just a losing battle, really.
Tomlinson is cautious of the water too when it comes to his collectible cars.
Even the water in Rotorua can be a little bit harder than other areas. So when we put our coolants in, we sometimes use purchased coolants rather than tap water, etc.
Nathan agrees that sulphur can cause discolouring to chrome, but won't do mechanical damage. And he's sure the water's just fine.
Well, our drinking water should be safe enough to put in the engine, so that's generally what comes out of our taps.
Tomlinson insists even the oldest of cars are still relatively green.
Because they are 60 years old or over or older, many of them, they've got no carbon footprint at all. They've been manufactured and they've been maintained and kept on the road for all these years. Whereas a lot of modern cars are designed to fall apart after 10 years, no parts available, and they end up on a landfill. And those cars have got a very high footprint. These have well and truly paid back any environmental damage they've caused. And while they might not be the most efficient cars to run, we only run them once or twice a month. We only travel short distances in them. And we are such a small part of the fleet and the annual mileage in New Zealand, we have no negative impact on the environment whatsoever.
And he hopes they will be allowed to stay on the roads.
Being allowed to keep running them, that's probably going to be our biggest challenge over the next 20, 30 years, because these cars should be preserved as they are. They shouldn't be converted to electric or converted to run on biofuel or anything like that at all. They should be kept as original as possible because they are moving history. They are moving museum pieces.
As for the future, you might be surprised at what could be the next craze in vintage cars.
I think Japanese cars, they've been so spurned and looked down on by car aficionados over the years.
But Nathan thinks the future lies with hydrogen-powered vehicles.
So it'll still be electric, but it will be driven off hydrogen, so it's actually producing power. So it will be probably a lot more efficient, even more than EV.
One thing's certain, there's no putting the brakes on a smooth cruise. Violet French, Local Focus.